Hello everybody, welcome back to another light novel review. Today I'm talking about volume number 2 in Mizuki Mizushiro's light novel series, Psycome. Now, this series is complete in Japan. There's only 6 volumes. There is a 7th volume, but they are short stories set within the story's timeline. We have 4 currently available in English. It's taken me a little while to get back around to this series, so I am behind. The 4th volume just released in June of this year. Now, with this series, we have main character Kyosuke, who has been imprisoned for a bunch of murders that he did not commit in the Purgatorium Reformation School. Now, this second volume is set 3 months after Kyosuke was incarcerated, and at this point, the school decides that to further help rehabilitate the students, they're going to take them on a camping trip. Now, of course, with the school being such a cruel and sadistic place, you know that this is going to be no ordinary camping trip, especially when one of the main supervisors is the head of the Public Moral Committee, and she happens to be a third-year upperclassman who is a serial killer that has 21 kills to her name. Now, with this series, of course, it is a crazy type series. I mean, when they say it's a psycho love comedy, I don't even know how much of that is actually true. It certainly is psycho. There's a lot of psychopaths in this story. Love seems to be a very difficult type of thing. And comedy, you know, absolutely there's times that I laughed. I'm not going to say that there weren't times that I laughed. I did. But there's also some things in this book, like the very last thing that happens in sort of like the epilogue. It was one of those things where I sort of sat there and going like, wow, this is really dark subject matter to be kind of making light of and putting in what you are saying is a comedy type book. It really didn't seem like something that should be made fun of or made, to be taken lightly. Also in this volume, I found that like the sexual innuendos were just ramped up. Definitely it was a component of the first volume. I'm not taking away from that, but it just seemed like there was so much more of it this time around. I mean, with Renko, of course, because she wants to get Kyosuke to love her so she can kill him, she is just being very, very overt with trying to... the way that she basically puts it is she'll win his body and then win his heart. So we have, of course, a whole bunch of different hijinks there. Some involving, getting surprised in a bath, and some with just I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, go read the book. The other thing, of course, is that because these characters have spent more time together, they're far more relaxed with each other, which means there's a lot more of this back and forth banter between particularly Renko and Eri, and it is almost all about boob size. And a whole bunch of other characters get involved in this. This is not just exclusively between these two. Clumsy Mina gets in on this. The murder princess, the 21 kill serial killer, she gets in on this whole thing. Like, discussion of boob size probably takes up a third of the dialogue in this book. And that might even be me being generous and underestimating it. There is not a scene where Renko and Eri are in it together that boob size does not come up. Absolutely. There's not a single moment in this book that those two characters are together that we do not get a lot of talk about boob size. And Kyosuke putting his foot in his mouth, trying to defend one side or the other, depending on who seems to be the more hurt by the comments. So if you're looking for that kind of stuff, hey, here it is. But the problem is that I really don't know why this whole breast thing is a thing in this series. Like, it happens so much that it's not funny. It's not. In fact, it really seems to be a character trait. With Eri, it seems to be a character trait to show her insecurity with her body. With Renko, it's the exact opposite. It's to show her overconfidence in at least this one part of her anatomy. You know, it's not funny. Like, it's not. Like, it just happens way too much for me to find humor in it. In fact, there was a few times where I was like, okay, can we just move on from this? Like, can't we find some new way to insult each other? Can't we find some new trait to attack each other over? Because really, I'm tired of talking about your boobs. Like, and I know I'm a guy, and maybe guys shouldn't feel that way. I don't know, but yeah, as a reader, it gets a little tiring. But that said, if we take that out of the equation, there's a lot of actually really funny things in this book, and there, of course, it is this book that is a Frankenstein monster of genres. We have this base thing that seems to be like a school slice of life. You know, boy goes away to stay at a dormitory type school, gets himself a harem, but then it's twisted. It's twisted with this whole, they're all killers, and he can't allow himself to fall for any of them, because to do so is basically suicide. You know, we also have, of course, this comedy element, but at the same time, there's so much dark stuff that sometimes you almost feel like maybe I shouldn't laugh. Like, it's like that uncomfortable, like, like sometimes that's what happens. And in terms of like a love story, I mean, like, this is about as twisted as you can possibly make love. I mean, love is, in this book, love equals basically death. And I think that's actually one of the things they say on here, somewhere in here at one point. I think that was one of the ways they actually advertise this thing. So this book, I'm going to say that in the second volume, I found it a little hard to get into. I kind of wonder if that's because there was such a long time between reading volume 1 and now reading volume 2. But I found, like, once I got into it, once the more central threats became a little bit more obvious, I really got into the book, you know, once I sort of warmed up to the characters and stuff. So again, it's a little hard for me to really review this in terms of comparing it to the first volume. I really did leave it, I think, too long. But, you know, my initial thoughts about the original Psycome volume, I think, still pretty much stand here. As I said, it's amped up, definitely, the sexual innuendo. I'd say the violence is a little bit more amped up. Like, it's a little bit more explicit with the violence. Now, funny enough, there is actually some character development, although what I found really funny is that, considering that Kyosuke is the main character, I didn't really feel like he was the one who got the majority of the development as a character. I found, like, in this volume, definitely Mina, I would say she, like, moves way, way ahead in this book. There's quite a bit of development about her. Even Eri, in a way, I would say we have some good character development with her. Certainly we're seeing a little bit more of what's beneath the whole tsundere type archetype that she pretty much represents. But at the same time, like I said, it was weird. Like, we have a main character that I don't really feel like made a lot of progress in this one. It really felt like it was a lot more about the girls and these surrounding characters. They seem to be a lot more of the focal point of the series. Kyosuke, it felt in a lot of ways, was kind of just along for the ride. But still, if you loved Volume 1, if it didn't freak you out, if it didn't put you off, then this is probably still going to be one that you're going to really enjoy. Again, it didn't strike me that I liked it quite as much as the first volume, but it's been a long time since volume number 1, and I have read a crap ton of light novels between then and now, so that's a little hard for me to gauge. But again, it's just sort of my gut feeling is that I didn't quite like this one as much as the first volume, but certainly I enjoyed it enough that I will definitely get around to reading the rest, especially when it's only 6 volumes long. I mean, it's a pretty short series to buy into. Plus, I just have no idea how this is going to end. I mean, I'm only in the second book, and really, there are things happening that I can't, for the life of me, figure out how this is going to get wrapped up, let alone wrapped up in only 4 more volumes. So those are my thoughts on Psycome Volume number 2, Murder Princess in the Summer Death Camp. Alright, so my next review is going to be a new Volume 1 of a new series coming out from J-Novel Club, and that is Infinite Dendrogram. Now, this one is another in the long-running I am inside a VR MMO, but I have heard some really good things about this one. I've heard it from the translator. I've heard it from a few people that have read this first volume. I'm a couple days behind getting into it. So I'm going to give it a whirl and see how it fares in comparison to the many other virtual reality, massive multiplayer online game-based light novels that we have. So hey, if you're brand new to the channel and you love light novels, subscribe to the channel so you can see all of my future light novel reviews. I really appreciate all of you joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.